lots of custom work, eating up all of my bandwidth, all my time. I didn't feel like I was able to really promote it and scale it. The best way to capitalize on AI and automation is to use them in your own business, not necessarily to sell that as your front offer. The client I actually landed through Dream 100 Outreach. The minute I started delivering stuff for her, she immediately reached out. She's like, you know what? I'm going to pay you what you asked for. I'm just sending her shit that I've generated with AI.
Hey there, Lucas Sinnott here, head of AI at Client Ascension and co-founder of AIAA. I'm here with Nick. Say hi, Nick.
Hey, what's going on?
Nick is the founder of Market Backwards, a marketing company that now deals with, is it funnels and ads is your primary offer right now?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so Nick's going along to talk a little bit of his experience in AIAA, and he's been in CA actually for some time and then recently joined the program. So Nick, why don't you talk a bit about what you were doing before when you first joined Client Ascension and kind of what you're doing now?
So before I jumped into Client Ascension, I was actually working for a marketing agency, funnily enough, kind of doing more or less in the background what I'm doing now. I was building automations, building out infrastructure for a marketing firm that ran webinars and sold funnels and things like that. So to me, it seemed like a natural fit for me to jump into doing like an AI and automations agency. So when I jumped into CA, that's essentially what I was planning on doing. So I had that at, around 5K a month. And it turned out it was like lots of custom work, eating up all of my bandwidth, all my time. I'm not above that. I don't know if it's an IQ thing or if it's just specific knowledge thing, but it was just kind of like eating me up. And I didn't feel like I was able to really promote it and scale it the way I wanted to.
We were just talking about that before we started recording. The custom work and stuff like that is like one of the things that everyone kind of falls into, kind of the trap of doing. Something we tried to solve with AIAA is to try and kind of, productize as much of the work as possible. But like what we were just saying about the kind of people out there that are running automations agencies now, definitely with that's where it's easy, to end up doing everything absolutely custom every single time. And like you said, then one person's got the time to do all that. At that stage, then you've got to start hiring, and obviously it's hard to find people who are experts in automation and in AI and stuff like that. So it's a tough business model to get started with for sure. So yeah, so then you mentioned there that you started to join AIA. What was the kind of reasoning behind that?
Well, the reasoning that, Daniel spelled it out pretty clearly. The best way to capitalize on AI and automation is to use them in your own business, not necessarily to sell that as your front offer. So obviously I took too long to make a decision and kind of make that adjustment. But once I did, things started falling in place. It just felt way more natural for me. And it's an offer that I find is truly scalable. You can use all the AI, all the systems and processes that I was using in my previous business are directly applicable to what I'm doing. In fact, they give me more leverage now in what I'm doing than they previously were. Since I joined AIAA, put my offer together, and obviously I have all the support I need. If I have any questions, I've got you, I've got Evan, I've got anybody, I can reach out to vet my copywriting. But the clients just started becoming more clients that I felt comfortable with and was able to get good results for.
Yeah, you mentioned that you previously were working kind of with a marketing agency. You were doing things like webinars and kind of a bit of ads and funnels and that sort of stuff. How do you feel that experience then helped you kind of going into the funnels and ads offer with AIAA?
I mean, it was a direct correlation. I was familiar with the process of setting up these funnels. I wasn't running ads and I wasn't really dealing with anything on the front end, the top of funnel, but all the back end, the email flows and all the automations that, CRM automations and anything like that, those are all things that were natural to me. So between the two, I just kind of put two and two together, and it's a pretty natural fit.
Awesome. And then I know that you recently signed a pretty big client. I don't know how much information you want to obviously talk about, but what was the process kind of for signing that client? How did that come about?
So the client I actually landed through Dream 100 Outreach. I saw she had a big brand, and I put together a VSL script for her, sent it to her, told her kind of the strategy behind it, how to implement it. And, I think she just saw a lot of value in that. I sounded like I knew what I was talking about. So, I got her on a call and we talked about it. We negotiated a little bit. I pitched her, an 8K setup fee with 5K a month ongoing. We negotiated a little bit. So she actually negotiated me down to 6K. She was like, well, I already have infrastructure. And she negotiated me down to 6K. And I was like, fine, let's just get it signed and get going. And the minute I started delivering stuff for her, she immediately reached out. She's like, you know what? I'm going to pay you what you asked for. This is above and beyond, and you're crushing it. So she's like, I need to keep you around. I need you to.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's another thing we talk about as well. It's kind of like, the over delivering sort of thing as well, which is something that, a lot of agencies do the kind of opposite. The amount of times when I was running an email marketing agency, we'd talk to some clients. They're like, oh, we worked with some guys, for a few months and they set up all our email flows and stuff. And they'd be like, yeah, they charge us like 24 grand. And we'd be like, okay. And we check what they made and they did like 4 flows with like 3 emails in each flow. And we're just like, Jesus,
Shit, I need to be charging more. 24.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm always like crazy, But yeah, that's kind of the whole thing is like actually delivering like really kind of solid service, then over delivering. That's how you kind of retain clients, and then even that client, especially, was very happy to then pay you kind of what you initially asked. So that's fantastic. And what have you been doing actually like in the weeds, setting up for her, as part of the offer?
Ad scripting, video scripting for the ads, static creatives, VSL scripting. I built out the funnel for her, which, I literally hired a guy that you sent me to or sent my way, and he did a great job and, got a good funnel for her.
At the ClickFunnels guy, the guy I sent over?
Yeah,
he's great. He's really good.
I like him. And I noticed a bottleneck in her business model. I figured there's got to be a better way to do it. She was basically selling challenge tickets through a webinar, which seems like extra steps that she didn't need in there. So I basically just streamlined that, did a direct to sales page funnel for her. She's super happy with it. Relieves her time. She doesn't have to spend as much time on webinars, and it's able to get her profitable on the front end. Sorry, I'm sitting here with my laptop on my lap and my screen's jumping around.
That's all good. All good. That's fantastic though. And the results been good so far. How long have you been working with her now?
3 months now, yeah.
3 months. Fantastic. And it's results been going well for it?
Yeah, I mean, she's, like I said, she's thrilled. She's currently in a challenge right now, and just, sent her an update, and she's just over the moon with the fact of the matter is, I'm just sending her shit that I've generated with AI. It's all about, you get out what you put in, as you know, and it's quality stuff, but it doesn't take me very long. I don't have to sit there and like write an entire VSL myself, nor do I think I could. I'll get better and better at that, but at this point, I'm pretty heavily leaning on prompting,
I know that you had a bit of experience, obviously, in the automation space coming in, so you kind of already had an understanding of like some of the tools and things like that. But how did you find kind of when you joined AIA, getting used to using kind of the tools and kind of some of the teachings that we have in there? Like there's obviously just the AI dashboard, which you would have seen for a while already as a CA member. And then there was the new thing was kind of the N8N workflows and that sort of stuff too. Like how did you find kind of getting those set up?
Yeah, I mean, you've made it all very streamlined, One, the AI dashboard is beautiful. That thing is just worth the tuition in itself. And then the N8N workflows are fantastic, and you can just customize them to do what you want to do. Every use case is going to be different, so you do have to do some customization, but they're all pretty laid out for you and very modular. So you can just grab the trigger, add a different trigger, set it up a different way, change the prompts, however you want. And
you mentioned that obviously we've got our funnels coach, Evan Seach, and so I assume you would have kind of spent a lot of time talking to him. How have you found kind of his guidance in this stuff so far?
Evan's obviously a powerhouse. His calls are gold. You don't want to miss those. And he's very forthcoming with information. There's like no gatekeeping, which is something that I think surprised me. Maybe I'm naive in that, but I kind of expected somebody to like be protective of what they've built. But it's honestly, there's like zero gatekeeping when it comes to any of the coaches in CA. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of us kind of adopted, especially from like, Alex Ramosi. Like he kind of always gave away kind of all the info. And I think it's because we know that like the dedicated students like yourself are going to implement that sort of stuff, but there is going to be a lot there that are just either it's not going to be applicable to them or they just won't apply it, So you're not really too worried about kind of creating competition because it's rare for students like yourself to come along that are really going to go all in on it and kind of apply it properly. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of something that I think we always kind of appreciate at CA is just giving as much value as possible and kind of giving away all kind of the information that we have. And like, there's not a lot of information as well that I think that is, pretty much most people can kind of figure this stuff out. They'll eventually will kind of like that information will be public eventually, So like the idea is thinking CA is that you're just going to get it. Like all the coaches are really ahead of the curve and what kind of the newest sort of stuff is. I know, for instance, myself personally, I'm constantly trying new AI stuff. And the only problem I ever have is like, if I teach this or introduce this, is it going to distract people from what they should be doing?
That's a valid thing because it moves so quickly at this stage that it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed, Like, do I need to be doing such and such thing? I would say just stick to the fundamentals. And if you have to do something manually, just freaking do it manually.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, that's something that like recently I've been diving into agentic workflows and like kind of these kind of new way of building agents and stuff. And I am going to do a whole course in it, but I want to make sure that kind of everyone that's coming through is kind of, happy with everything currently, the current setup, and they've learned also they need to know, before I kind of distract them with anything extra to be like, oh, maybe you should be doing this instead. So
your calls as well, in particular, I get a lot of value from just gems. I'll notice either a new technology strategy or a new workflow or a new way to implement a trigger or something like that just sparks some sort of inspiration and just sets you on a new path. It's great.
That's what I really aim to do, because like as much as we want to prepackage this stuff and make it as easy to pick up and do and learn as possible, I also want to give everyone the kind of the tools and the skills to figure this stuff out themselves too, like that's why in AIA and there's two N8N courses. The first one is one that I'm like, everyone has to watch this one. That's the Enough to Be Dangerous, where you'll need to know this in order to get the workflows up and running. But I've got another more detailed one that's kind of like, right, here's how this all works, like right from beginning to end. And if you want to build your own stuff, here's how to do that. Now, not everyone's going to watch that one, but I want everyone to have the ability to, like if they find themselves going, oh, I actually really like this and this is very helpful, but I want to make this one, you can go through and watch that and learn how to do that stuff too.
Yeah, like for example, the vector store thing, that was just a paradigm shift for me. That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's something that like not everyone is going to need, so like I didn't want to include it in the main course, but like later on I was like, right, this is now, as I was talking to you guys and some of you were getting very advanced with it, and you with your previous experience as well, you were kind of moving a good bit further ahead. I was like, right, well, this is something that, obviously that will be useful. So kind of go into stuff on that. Yeah, like it's definitely kind of a slightly more advanced kind of AI tool, the vector stores and stuff, but I think they're wildly useful and I've really kind of enjoyed messing around with them. But how long have you been in AIA now? Is it 3 months as well?
Yeah, 3 months. I believe I joined in September, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, I don't have the date, but it's, I think, like late September.
Awesome, yeah. And overall, what would you say was kind of like when you decided to join, considering you were already in the main kind of CA program, what was the real kind of driver behind getting you to sign up?
Okay, one, and this isn't a specific answer, but it kind of speaks to the whole quality level in general, is like, I just know that CA and the whole team behind it, Daniel, Andre, yourself, my coach, Andy's worth his weight in gold, I just knew that there's quality behind it and everything about it made sense. I just knew that leveraging AI for fulfillment was really the way to go, and I just wanted to be a part of it. It's kind of as simple as that.
Awesome, yeah. And you mentioned there your coach Andy, your student success coach. How has he like kind of helped you along your overall CA journey? What's kind of the main thing you talk to Andy about or you do with Andy?
One, he's got the patience of a saint. I've done quite a bit of foot dragging along the way, to be honest with you. Not intentionally, but just sort of I'm kind of a chronic overthinker. And when I was trying to figure out my first offer and like pivot from another offer, I jumped on one of my first calls with Daniel early on. And it's funny because I told him I was working for that company. I told him about the offer that I was thinking about doing. He was just like, don't do that. That's stupid. He goes, just sell webinars, just sell funnels. And I was just kind of like, maybe I should do CRO. Maybe I should do this or that. It's so funny that like I've come around full circle, but it took me way longer than I'd like to admit to come to that realization.
Yeah, no, sometimes you just need something like that just to, like, I always say, like, when I first joined CA as a student, Dan shouted my offer at me. Like, I got on the call with Dan and I was like, well, I've done this, this, and this, and I'm thinking of doing this. And he was just like, you sell landing pages and VSLs. That's all you do. And I was like, all right, cool. Dan's got a very direct style, like he's exactly like the YouTube channel as well. Like that doesn't change on the calls.
But it is kind of tough love. It's not like he's not being a dick. He's like really just giving you value. And I love that. But I mean, you asked me a question about Andy. Andy has been obviously encouraging and supportive and like helpful and everything. But like strategically, he keeps you in line. He keeps you like honest and he keeps you moving in the right direction. Okay, what have you been working on? Let him know what you've been working on. He says, okay, now you need to just double down on that, or you need to pivot to this, or you need to stick to that, and he's always present. Yeah, Andy's fantastic, which I'm sure is the same for any coach in the program. But
yeah, no, that's great. And I believe Andy work with the SSCs a little bit and kind of coordinate with them. And I believe they do something called a business health audit. I'm sure Andy's done those with you. What are those like? What kind of is the process for those?
A little bit painful because it's like looking in a mirror and not liking what you see. Unfortunately, that was the case for me for a good while. And that's just because I was waffling around trying to figure out what I wanted to sell or what was going to really work for me, But yeah, I mean, he just dive into numbers. He'll ask you like, what have you done? It's a very structured process, right? There's a spreadsheet that has all your numbers in it. What outreach have you done? What kind of responses you're getting? And, based on that, it's just a health audit.
Awesome. And then like, I assume then does Andy give like recommendations then after that based on the numbers and things like that?
100%. Yep. He will give you literally a list of what you need to do over the next couple weeks or month. It's broken down and it's 100% custom tailored. There's nothing cookie cutter about it. He's, reading your experience, your strengths and weaknesses and telling you, hey, this is what you need to do.
Fantastic. And I suppose the other question would be like, what are the other kind of elements of the program so far that you've enjoyed the most? Or, like what's kind of the things that
the community, man. The community is incredibly valuable. You can ask a question in any of the, numerous channels and either a coach is responding to you pretty quickly. There's some other students in the program that are just just light years beyond where I'm at. So the amount of value I can get from them is, can't be said enough about.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. We've got a lot of students in there who are, quite far ahead. Off the top of my head, you've got, obviously, Evan was a student, I was a coach. You've got Eamon, Max Sturtevant, like these guys that have all kind of crushed it. And like the main thing I always find about them is how willing they all are to kind of share that information, the sauce, kind of the stuff they did to get there. You said like the coaches is no gatekeeping, but I even find among the students and, the community members, everyone seems very happy to help out. And I'm kind of glad we've kind of promoted that sort of kind of ethos throughout the community.
I've never really been in a community like it. I've told my coach this, and my yearly subscription is going to come to an end. And it's just, there's no question in my mind whether or not I need to be in CA. It's just too valuable.
Fantastic, man. Thank you very much for hopping on, man. Really appreciate it. Why don't you give a quick shout out of like your website or your socials or anything like that? And we'll put them in the description below as well.
Yeah, thanks. Marketbackward.com, doing ads and funnels for info and coaches and consultants. But I'm definitely going to be signing on to a little bit more obscure niches as we've been talking about in the group lately. Got some stuff coming through with private practice and some home services.
Fantastic. Really, really good shit, man. That's great to hear. That's it. Please go to clientextension.ai for more information. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe to my newsletter at appliedleverage.io and see you in the next one. Peace, everyone.
My pleasure. Thank you.